question. He asked, am I concerned about the poisons that have been put on the lawn, the glyphosates and the aluminum dioxide and all these other things? And I'm concerned about, so when we put a natural system in, it's like building our immune system. It's building the Earth's immune system. When you put these systems in, those chemicals have no chance. Those chemicals have to be applied. How often? How often do you see these applied? Well, I go around my neighborhood. I take my little 2-year-old on a walk all the time. She takes me on a walk all the time. and we're going around, and there's little signs in everybody's yards. And now think about how effed up this is. It's a heart. It's a red heart. And it says, in a little circle, it says poisonous. It's a red heart. The other one's like a Jolly Green Giant sign. And I actually did a video on these, pulling them out of the yards. They have to put these poison signs regularly because nature, God, is so powerful that it has to take constant poison to kill. So, to answer your question, you start building the infrastructure, building the soil, the Earth's immune system, and it's all good.
So, but how long does that take?
You start. How long does it take?
Okay, so I want to plant some tomatoes.
Yeah.
But I'm concerned about the chemicals that have been on the soil for years.
Just start building soil immediately, and you're fine. You're going to be fine relative to anything else, right? Are there still going to be some remnants of it? Well, the decomposition process, nature's process, is so powerful that it's going to take out those systems or those poisons in a very short amount of time. So as long as you don't put new chemicals or new poisons on it, you're going to be better off than anything else. So I don't have a green thumb. So this is where the permaculture design comes in. I'm a huge fan of perennials. Perennials are plants that you plant once and they grow for sometimes thousands of years. There's an olive tree on the Greek Isle of Crete that was planted over 2,000 years ago that's still producing olives to this day, right? 2,000 years of production out of one tree. So when we put a perennial food forest in, you can leave it, and 5,000 years later, like the Amazon rainforest, which was a designed food forest 5,000 years ago, you can Google that, look that up, then it'll just continue to create. In fact, a food forest is expansive by its very nature. My buddy in northern Minnesota, he's got a food forest he started about 5 years ago, and he planted about 300 different species of edible and medicinal plants. He runs a business out of that. They take the medicines out of his food forest, and they do tinctures and stuff. I've got a bunch of them, pine pollen and sarsaparilla and all these. And he estimates that over 100,000 plants have been planted in the forest around his property over the last 5 years, with the animals and the wind and the rain and the birds coming into his system and putting the seeds out to nature. Now think about that for a second. A food forest, the Garden of Eden, is expansive by its very nature. That food forest would, over time, cover the whole world. You know, it would change, it would adapt to the environment. That's how it does. That's how it does it. It adapts. It adapts to whatever zones and environments we're in, as long as we take out the poisons. That's the issue. Everything that we've learned about agriculture in colleges and universities in the last 50, 60 years it's the most destructive teaching ever, right? It's how to kill the planet. It's how to use resources in a way that just creates control centers for the slave master. Okay? So this idea of a green thumb, I've got food forests here that we put in about 2 years ago. And for the first few months, we had to water it when it didn't rain about twice a week. That took us a couple hours. And in about 18 months, no effort, and it's growing like crazy. Like literally nothing. The only thing we did is we mowed a trail around it so we could get to it, because it was just thick with food. And then we even, just recently, we took a bunch of trees out of there because they were getting so packed in, and we put them in another location. And the area was kind of all ground up. I went back there just the other day, took a video, and there's all these things coming out of the ground that are all life-giving food. And so now in the near term, we also like to add annuals. Annuals are a bit more work. But when you actually realize that the work is the healthiest work you could ever do, when you realize that it's not work, but it's play, when you actually go in there and sit with your garden, you're going to be healing. just by sitting there. And that's proven, by the way. I don't believe in any science that you hear out there anymore, but this one I know for a fact is true, and scientists also confirm it's true. So that's why I know for sure this works. So the green thumb thing, the zone thing, a lot of people ask me, but I live here, they have all these reasons not to. It's almost like they're feeling a little bit guilty in a way, and no, I just can't do it. Okay, just try to even plant one fruit tree guild, right? A guild is a community of plants that love each other, that support each other. You get your comfrey and a moringa and a couple berry bushes and a bunch of nitrogen fixers, and you take your primary fruit tree in the middle, you put that in, you never have to touch it again. It will grow forever, and it'll provide food forever. So there's no green thumb, black thumb, brown thumb programming in this. It's so easy to grow food. In fact, who takes care of these trees out here? Who takes care of these bushes besides chopping them up? Right? Nature does. Yes, sir.
Okay, so sourcing your seeds, are you concerned about using organically grown regional seeds versus other stuff that's out there?
So there, in the types of plants that we plant, there's no GMOs, because those are the corns and the wheats and the soys of the world, right? We're talking about planting stuff that's, it's really a matter of how you grow it. So I do try to get organic seeds, but if I can't get organic seeds, I'll still get seeds. In fact, I bought fruit trees at Lowe's and Home Depot. They were not raised. It's kind of like a kid getting vaccinated. My daughters, my first couple were vaccinated, not my last two, because I didn't know better. But the act of raising them in an organic way is going to overcome all of that. For the most, I think for completely, but I don't know. Yeah. So I'd love to answer any questions and then pop in as more ideas come. Oh, I do want to, okay, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. What advice do you have for us that live like in communities where there's like roads around, there's cars and fumes coming in all the time? Is there a way to protect?
Yes.
plants?
Yes, barriers. Like one of my friends has a raspberry. His whole side of his property is all these raspberry bushes. It's amazing. It protects against deer and everything. Yeah. Fences, then you turn into trellises. Fences are phenomenal assets. Every fence should be a food fence. It's a built-in trellis. You just plant grapes and passion flower. In fact, we have a design, by the way, is job one. It's the most important. We have 4 design teams at Gulf's Landing where we're creating an off-grid community, sold out. And it's we have a 3,000-foot fence that we put in for what might be coming. And on that fence, we're putting 26 different types of vining plants, passion flower, passion fruit, and a lot of different types of grapes and so on. So the whole fence, which currently looks ugly, looks like a chain link fence, is going to become a green food fence.
She's talking, I mean, I know what she wanted to ask, and more the fumes from the
Yeah,
cars.
views for the cars.
How bad's that hitting what we're planning?
Well, that's the thing. The fence becomes a barrier. The fence becomes a buffer for those fumes coming into our space, and for wind. You know, in a cold area, you want to block the wind from hitting certain plants.
So if you got a big wall, then you're not concerned about anything coming over?
Well, see, here's the thing is, it's time to start building soil and building the immune system. The immune system is going to be stronger than any of that. Right? That's the thing. It's like, and give it the right stuff. Like I had 107 temp, I took ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, turmeric tea, and a green smoothie my daughter made. Right? And I'm standing here now, about 90% back. That was 2 days ago. I've never had anything like that in my life. So it's about building the Earth's immune system back again. Yes. And then none of that stuff will happen.
Don't the plants absorb the carbon?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. They eat that stuff.
They're the filter.
Yeah, they're the plants are the
They
filters.
give us the oxygen.
They're the lungs of our Earth. You nailed it.
I'm not a biologist.
Do you have data that you could give us regarding what particular plants we've been planting in our zone?
Yeah. Yeah, we actually have 45 professional food forest landscape designers now, and the design is job one. Every yard is special, and every individual has a particular goal or vision. So the first step is get it a design, or you can go online and look up. Everything we do is transparent. We have no NDAs, no non-competes, no patents. And this is, by the way, the tip of the iceberg. We have on the 19th, a few nights from now, we're going to do a 2.5-hour show, and we're going to record it, and we're going to share the path to freedom with the world. We call it the Eden Initiative, and it layers out the food forest capabilities. We're also the first that I'm aware of to come to market with Grow Green Global, which is a financing arm that finances the installation of food forests and nurseries. We also have Topia. Topia is it's a barter exchange mechanism. Some will call it a crypto, some will call it money, but it's directly linked to food production. So Topia is minted and mined when people commit to growing food ethically, which means without poisons. So it's the first currency or barter exchange mechanism that I'm aware of in the world that incentivizes food production. So how do people get Topia? They plant food and commit to growing it. So that it's staked, it's literally an asset-backed security in a way. Yeah. And this is going to change the world radically.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yes.
So how do we find your information? Do you have a website?
Yes. Foodforestabundance.com.
Okay.
And that's where that show will be on?
Yes, it will. It'll be there and everywhere. And our strategy is a lot of fun. We have Darren Olean, who won the Emmy last year for Down to Earth. I did a show with Adrian Grenier, who's got Green Speed. We've got the producers of The Crocodile Hunter we're doing a series called The Land of Plenty, which I think is so cool. So our marketing team, they're Emmy award-winning, amazing people. So we're not messing around. We're changing the world. Like there's no doubt about it.
So, a couple of things. What about the fertilizer? Second thing would be, what about dealing with bugs and things like that in a safe way?
Great questions.
Okay, and then...
Let me get those two.
Yeah.
Okay, fertilizer is natural. So if you can have chickens are one of the most incredible resources on so many levels. They eat bugs. In other climates, they're used to heat greenhouses. They're good for security, and they're good for eggs and meat.
And they're great pets.
They're great.
Yeah, we love to hug.
Yes, they're so fantastic, right? So that's fertilizer, and the other one was bugs. Oh, bugs. Okay, so this is the thing with a food forest. The strength of a food forest is in its diversity. Right, so on our property, so far, after just about 8 months, we've got 140 different types of food growing. Like 140, most people can only name like 10 or 20. 140, because now if a bug comes in, the bug will pick on one thing, but there's not enough there to breed and create a family, which the plagues of locusts are created by the monocultures, the monocrops, which are unnatural in every way. Right, that's why they need poisons. Right? Its diversity is what's natural in a system. So so you'll get, and then also, I was sitting there the other day in the food forest and just watching the wasps and the spiders. Spiders take out hundreds of millions of metric tons of bugs a year, right? Spiders and wasps are our frontline generals. They're our most incredible assets. Geckos. I had a bunch of kale. There's a bunch of bugs eating the kale, and now I've got a resident gecko. There's no more bugs eating the kale. Right? This is it. It's diversity. It's the maximum expression of life. Did you have a question? Okay.
Hi, my name is Lynn and Suzanne, and I are visiting from Vermont. We're from CC.
Yay!
I wanted to make a comment. This is very inspiring. I fortunately have a forest that I can go out and harvest wild foods, and I don't know what grows here, but I had a Lakota friend come to my home and take me across my lawn and show me in a matter of minutes 3 medicinal plants that are healing. And what I want to comment on is this idea, the aversion that has been placed in the programming that there's such a thing as weeds. because I cannot wait to get back to Vermont to eat dandelions. And dandelions are why everybody started putting the poisons on the ground. And for those of you that don't know, I go in and I pop them out. I keep the roots are made for sore throats. You can keep that, you can grind them up and make coffee type drink. The leaves are a little bit bitter, but they cleanse the liver, so we get stinging nettle and the dandelions to kind of clean out. And then the flowers can be frittered. You can put so we have people that will take you out in the woods. So I learned all this stuff. You can eat cattails to burdock is something. Everybody says, oh, you know, it makes all those sticky things. The root, which is hard to harvest, but that's a wonderful thing. Thistles are like celery. It just goes on and on. There are no weeds. Plantain that grows cures
I
cancer.
actually wrote a book with over 100 of the wild edibles and
There you
medicinals
go.
in Florida.
Oh my gosh! Can I buy that from you today?
Yeah, I bought some to sell. They're
I'm buying one.
$29.95.
I love it.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
So I
great.
just have two more points to make. If you have mullein here, that is a plant that I use a lot, and it gets rid of congestion. So when I had the second little thing, whenever I used that in OSHA root and I got rid of it, and for your sir, what we do in Vermont is we grow the comfrey plant, which is a beautiful plant.
Here too.
We take the leaves and we soak them and then we use them. And it's a natural thing. And the weeds don't have a lot of bugs on them. There's flowers you can eat. Violets are one of the best vitamins that you can eat.
Yeah, I have a section in there on all the edible flowers. And
Oh, I'm so excited.
Jim, hire them, please.
Oh, I'm buying that book. I'm buying that book. I love it.
So comfrey is your bone knitter, so to plant a medicinal garden so you don't need to go to the hospital. I have a chapter on just what you would need to never have to go to the hospital.
Wow, that's awesome.
That is incredible.
Yeah, that's
Well,
great.
everybody, especially now, should buy one of those.
Yes.
Because, I mean, talk about a preparedness tool.
Yeah, then you don't even have to worry about planting anything. You just need to learn what nature already has.
That's right. When you're walking in a natural system, there's food growing everywhere. There's medicine everywhere. We just don't know what it is because this has been programmed out of us. Like I said, a Costa Rican grandma knows more about this than any of us.
Do you have any kind of package solutions for, say, people that are renting that have limited space?
Yeah.
So probably doesn't justify getting one of your designers in.
Right, no.
Just wants to put straight away, get something going which is going to help them with survival.
So we point you in the right direction. We have a lot of videos. I've done a bunch on microgreens. Microgreens are awesome. You do need to buy seeds, and so it's more of a short-term fix unless you want to go to seed, which is a whole nother level of detail. Also, 5-gallon buckets with potatoes, and here in Florida, sweet potatoes are my favorite preparedness crop.
Wait a second, I have to tell you, on the show I watched, I said it to him earlier, this sweet potato looks like a frickin' watermelon.
Yeah. Sweet potatoes are amazing. Everybody should have sweet potatoes. If you have one thing, sweet potatoes are the one thing. They're just fantastic. They're so nutrient dense, and you don't have to do anything. You can eat the leaves, the stems, and the tuber. Yes.
Are you familiar with the yakon plant?
A little bit. Why?
It's one of the more nutritional plants that is not really registered here, that will grow in this climate, but is very nutrient rich.
Yeah.
Yeah, all those are in my book.
Why?
I only got 10 copies with me.
Oh, good.
Do you have any tips for growing a food forest if you're already in a forest?
You still have them.
Yes, there's understory plants. So that the design, the permaculture science is very well documented. Right? And it's now there's millions of people around the world, and all of them are sharing their knowledge. And this permaculture database is just fantastic. I think Bill Mollison will be recognized as one of the most important people in the history of the world here in the time to come. In a forest, you would, if you can, open up a few places where you take the trees, you cut certain trees down, and then you turn those into mulch and wood chips, and then you use that as a foundation. In other shady areas, you use understory plants.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're in a cypress forest, and there's always a layer of cypress needles, like all the time.
Yeah. So that's where the design would come in. That one of the designers, we have all these different designers who all know different zones, and they would say, okay, for this particular situation, these are the 100 different plants that would thrive there. And there's way more than you think. That's the magic of this. There's always way more.
And also how to find water in the plants. Like this is a survival book too. So how to create water if we had no electricity, no power, no pharmacies. You know, that's what this book is.
That's amazing. That's so cool. Thank you for putting that out there.
Could you just address the pH of soil and you
Yeah.
deal with that and how?
Yeah, so that's also part of the design process. So at Galt Landing, we checked our soil and it was very alkaline. So we got a truckload, a 40-foot container, completely full of pine straw, pine needles, because that creates acidic soil. That helps acidify and balance out the soil. So blueberries, like a lot of different plants thrive in a more acidic soil, and some plants don't. So that's part of the design process. It's very comprehensive. Yes?
Tell the group or ask the group if they know any builders up here.
If they know any what?
Builders.
For communities, yes. So we have a lot of community builders, developers that are calling us up and they want to be involved in this. And we can show that the developer who goes this direction is going to make more money, right? Like our HOA, I love to ask this. So we've got it's a kind of a luxury community. It's on a private 430 acres. It's got a lake. It's got a runway, about a mile-long paved runway. We don't own it yet, but we will. And so guess what our HOA dues are for this? With all the food forests and all the amenities, tennis courts, everything. We don't have dues. When you use your resources wisely, you create profit centers. You turn these liabilities into assets. We're going to have so much abundance that we'll be making a lot of money per month per lot owner. Right? It's a very different way of thinking, and it's so backwards compared to what it is now, but it's logical on every level. All right. Any other questions? Yes.
Beekeeping.
Oh yes, beekeeping is huge. We just got our first beehive. I'm not an expert in beekeeping, but I've hired a team, and in fact, there's the Florida Extension Office. Yeah. They are phenomenal. There's actually a beekeeping group everywhere, pretty much, that will help anybody who wants to be a beekeeper to do it right. So that's something that we're going to be learning. In fact, we're creating a studio at Galt Landing to demonstrate freedom every day. And what that means is learning along with the experts. So we're inviting experts in to teach me stuff and to teach us stuff, and then we're putting it on video and putting it out to the world. It's going.
Jim, walk us through, like, from design to completion, like, just so we get an idea of what the whole process would be if we wanted to work with you.
Awesome. So if somebody says, I would like to design my yard or my property to be abundant, then they purchase a blueprint, what we call a food forest landscape design blueprint, and then it goes to Dr. Ian Scott. He's our team leader, and then he looks at location and zone, and he picks a team of designers, and that team of designers will then call you up, and they'll say, what are your goals, what are your vision? They'll find out what zone you're in, and they'll collect all sorts of information, and then they'll use that, and at the end of the experience, which takes about 2.5, 3 weeks, you'll have about a 45-page document, very detailed, which will include your custom design. So every single thing we do is custom. And I also want to share this. We are at war. I will not pay taxes to an entity that we are at war with. So we're putting 100% of our net monthly profits back into the system. How? By putting food forests in schools, by putting food forests in parks, by putting food forests in public areas. Because when we put a food forest, I'm working on one here downtown Orlando in a opportunity zone, right? A zone where most people eat Church's chicken or 7-Eleven. That's what they eat, and they're sick, right? So we're putting a food forest there, and we're going to prove how that food forest raises up the value of that whole community. And when it raises up the value of that community, that raises the value up for everybody, right? It's so logical. Yes.
So what about vacant land and like there's so many used car dealers or even car dealerships that just completely closed down. You can't find anything out
it should be a food forest.
Well, that's what I'm saying, so are you involved in that? Can we
So,
get involved in that?
We're in process. You know, I should finish that one question too, and then I'll go to that. So it starts with the design, and then we've got probably the fastest growing cooperative in the world right now. We've got over 135 co-ops. It's like a franchise. I actually spent about $250,000 getting franchise documents ready, and it ended up being over 300 pages of government bullshit. I threw it all in the trash. It made me sick. When I held that, it made me feel icky. And I threw it in the trash, and now our contract is 2 pages, and it's the voluntary exchange of value. No non-competes, no patents, no NDAs. People can do whatever they want when they want. We provide massive value with our amazing team of 21 full-time people, 550 abundance ambassadors, 135 co-ops in 1 year. We launched on Earth Day 1 year ago. That's massive. Then to your question, we also are applying for a $100 million grant right now, and our goal is to, like Robin Hood, to take some of that money. It's a USDA grant that's meant to help with agriculture and grow food, right? And so we're looking for anybody who wants to put a property up that we will put a food forest on at no cost to them. So you can check that out on our website, foodforestabundance.com. We've got about 300 applicants so far. We're looking to get another couple hundred, and then we're going to pick, and we're going to spend that $100 million building food forests for people.
I guess piggybacking on her question is like, what is your involvement with like municipalities and governments and that sort of?
Well, govern means to manage or control, and mente means mind, right? That is the core problem in our world. At the same time, there's a lot of people in government that have good intentions, right? They're usually low level, and then as they go up the ladder, they get filtered out. You know, like Ron Paul, who won the thing, and then they said, oh no, he didn't, and then like a year later, they said he did, right? So to answer your question, in fact, we've had gubernatorial candidates from Texas and California call us up and want to work with us, and I've got the best strategy for them. It's incredible. We will bring them in, and we'll create a food forest in one of these dilapidated areas, one of these poor areas. And we'll thank them for doing it, right? Say, hey, come in, support this, and then that'll be their platform to win the state governor race. What a great platform. I'm going to use the government's resources to create freedom and health for everybody. There's not a better platform. Not even close. So if you know anybody who is in government and wants to go to the top, this is the next president. This will be their platform. You know, can you imagine 1 day's military budget will create freedom for everybody? 1/10 of 1% of the church's holdings will create the Garden of Eden everywhere. Right? So those tools, those forms of governmente, when we can get in there, inspire them, especially at the higher levels, to see a new way, then it's going to happen for sure.
I just had an idea. Just a lot of them have large properties and things like that, so they would be the perfect people to turn their properties into food forests.
Absolutely.
Like what Dell did.
Yeah, what Dell? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what Thomas Jefferson did.
Yes. Thomas Jefferson said the tree of liberty must be nourished from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants, for that is its natural manure. I think of those words. Yeah.
I love that. That's great. Yeah.
I don't even know how to phrase my question, but I know that we keep hearing about a food shortage coming. So as homeowners, what are some of the first most important things that you should be thinking about doing that are really simple and not complicated to be ready first?
Go to Costco.
And then it's very logical. So 3 months supply of food on hand, right? 3 months in case it shuts off tomorrow with any of these different things that could happen. Get 3 months, and then also have seeds. So you have 3 months of food on hand and seeds, right? Now the best thing to do is start now, design and install a food forest, and sweet potatoes are number one. If all you did was work the edges of your yard, let's say you got a rectangular backyard, take 4 feet and just put sweet potatoes in, you're gonna have enough food just to save.
And also get some sprouting seeds, and you can live on those in 3 days. They're ready, 40 times more nutritious than the parent plant.
Yes. sprouting seeds, like microgreens or sprouts.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go online, Johnny Seed and True Leaf, there's, look up, microgreen seeds or sprouts. Yeah. Awesome. Yes.
Alright, so I love the idea of the food forest, it makes a lot of sense to me. I do have one other question though. Is there any dialed back version of this, say for people that live in inner cities or apartments where they literally have no land?
Yeah.
Now, the sprouting is an excellent idea,
Yeah.
obviously, because you can literally live on sprouts. I understand what you're talking about. But is there things that you can do that's like the food forest concept, but within an apartment where you don't have outdoor land to work with?
Really, that is the thing is sprouts or indoor grows. You can get grow lights. You can take your deck if you have a deck, and you can put 5-gallon buckets on it. If you want it to look better, you can build them in as raised beds right there on your deck.
Or those power gardens.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Okay.
To this idea, to like how to get started, a couple of years ago, I was just in my backyard,